Chamyad to some people is a Homa Bay proverb, but just what exactly is this unique intervention? Even though Homa Bay still has the highest HIV prevalence in Kenya, according to the latest NASCOP data, Homa Bay is one of the 21 counties in the country in forward gear, which have reduced the number of new HIV infections by more than half. However, drug resistance in the county remains one of the most common issues facing HIV-positive patients on ARVs, leading to treatment failure. Tonight, our feature Chamyad explores the challenges of patients on the first, second, and third line of ARV regimen and how the Chamyad concept is reversing Homa Bay's HIV curve.
I was told that I was the first person to be put on that third line. There is no any drugs apart from this third line.
And once you've established that you are positive, then we say, Chamyad, take medicine. Chamyad, HIV/AIDS, Chamyad, kula dawa.
Homa Bay County in southwestern Kenya has been known to have the highest prevalence rates of HIV in the country for the longest time, with the latest government figures saying at least 1 in every 4 people living in the lakeside counties living with HIV. 1.5 million people in Kenya are estimated to be living with HIV. The national prevalence average is 4.5%. In Homa Bay, it is at 18.6%, 4 times the national prevalence. There was a time when many people who were affected had limited options for treatment, with several misconceptions and stigma being rife, that even one of the local media termed it the killer sex disease. It was around that time in 2006 when 44-year-old Patrick Abongo, a father of 5, tested positive for HIV. Patrick also recalls the antiretroviral therapy, ART, that saved his life.
I started my care at Homa Bay Hospital, but I didn't take my medications well. Stigma and discrimination also can bring somebody not to take his or her medication. You are a man, you marry a new woman, and you don't want to disclose for him or her that you are on care. You will leave those drugs, or you can keep them away.
In those olden days, Dorcas, when somebody was HIV positive and he died, people were looking for other excuses. What has caused this death? What may have caused this death? And they don't want to address it.
In the treatment of HIV, there are different lines or regimens of treatment. Each has its own combination of drugs and varies in cost.
First line, second line, and that line. And if one have treatment failure of the first line and is put on second line, then there's no other option if they were to go to that line. And as well, when they start acquiring opportunistic infections, that means then that they will not be able to thrive like anyone else.
First line treatment is the very first line of treatment, cheap in terms of cost for the government to purchase, and it is also very effective in terms of suppressing the virus. As we go to the second and the third line, it becomes more complicated, even in terms of choosing the combination of drugs.
Peter was put on the third line of treatment in 2016. He was the first person living with HIV in Dhiwa to be put under this regimen under MSF for Doctors Without Borders intervention, which offers ARVs in health facilities in the county.
They told me that there was only one patient in Kenyatta Hospital who was being used on that drug. When you are being switched on third line, you must have a pill burden. In the morning, I took ritonavir, na DTG. This is TDF 3TG DTG, na Septrin.
The second line medication, they are very, what we call forgiving drugs. You can use them erratically for even 2 years before they become resistant. But you see, after 2 years of abusing the drug, then they become resistant. It means we have to take you to a third line regimen.
drug resistance is still one of the most common challenges facing HIV-positive patients on ARVs, leading to treatment failure. This is associated with several factors, mostly behavioral. For instance, not taking the drugs at the right time or not taking them at all for prolonged periods. Sometimes due to stigma, the patients hide their drugs and take them in secret. At times, they don't at all if it means they get discovered.
Any disease might come in your body and might kill you. So wherever, when you are going even in a journey, carry your drugs. When the time reaches, for example, you have a phone, set an alarm, take your medication. Even you have a relative, when you come in your family, disclose your status.
Dolutegravir or DTG, a combination drug, has been touted as a wonder drug in the treatment of HIV. Consistent adherence in taking of this drug will reduce a patient's viral load significantly. As at October 2020, 79% of all people living with HIV knew their status. 78.9% of all those who knew their status, 1.1 million, had been initiated on ART treatment, with more men than women taking the life-saving drugs. But still, treatment failure is particularly high among adolescents.
I think almost 60-70% of the population in the country is within that age group. So 20-30 years from now, you can imagine we are having a population that is immune system is down.
19-year-old Millicent Kareha was infected with HIV when she was only 15 years old. It has taken her intense and continuous psychosocial support to heal from her traumatic experience.
When I was at Form 2, yes, I was raped when I was going to the river. Then some 3 vagabonds came out from the bush on headgears. Then eventually they raped me and left me there. I never reported because I never knew these people. And also I had that stigma that if people know I'm raped, then maybe I may be discriminated.
Millicent, like many girls her peers in Homa Bay, attended sessions at an NGO where testing for HIV is done in a 3-month period. It was out of this routine testing that she got to know her status. So bad was the stigma she endured at her high school until she wrote her KCSE exam in 2019. That for 1 week, she did not take her medication.
Since I started taking medication, I've just missed to take my medication only once. That was when I experienced some discrimination in school. Yeah, so I decided to stop because I felt like I should die. But I was taught, I was cancelled, then I came online.
Chamgiyat was also meant to address the stigma, to demystify the idea that somebody is taking drugs. You know, that's stigma. If you're seen going to a comprehensive care center, you are seen to be, oh, this person is bad. You know, this is different.
Millicent resolved to no longer hide to heal.
Line 1 meaning, since I start on care, I've never failed. That means I'm still on the first drug I was started on.
Poverty remains a big contributor against the uptake of ART. Homa Bay, a rural county, still has high poverty levels. Some people living with HIV cannot afford to purchase food, which is essential before taking drugs. The government, intervening at the time of COVID-19, ensured that people living with HIV would get a 3-month supply of ART in order to avoid multiple visits to healthcare facilities.
Life has not been normal because at times I even miss some transport to go to the hospital. From here to Ndiwa is 70 bob, just going. Now to and fro is 140. At times I even lack that transport to reach the hospital, so I do trek. And it's very challenging from here to Ndiwa, it's very far. Now if I want to trek, at times I feel like, should I stop going or I just go?
As of November 2020, in the MSF Mdiwa Homa Bay ART program, there were 1,385 people living with HIV on the 2nd line of treatment and 29 on the 3rd line of treatment. There are fears among people living with HIV and AIDS that with withdrawn donor and partner funding like PEPFAR, there may not be enough drugs available for them.
If MSF will withdraw, where will we get these drugs for 3rd lines? Will we die? next year, or
one day these donors will not be there. And it's important for us to be starting to put some money into those areas.
Homa Bay, with the highest prevalence, is one of the 21 counties in Kenya on forward gear and had reduced the number of new HIV infections by more than half in the year 2019, according to a NASCOP and NACC report released on World AIDS Day. Counties with increased infections reverse gear included Nairobi, Lamu, Marsabit, Bungoma, Kakamega, Busia and Vihiga.
The numbers were very high, 27.6. Today, we are 18.6.
A lot has been said about the concept of Chamath.
We're targeting youths, the young people, we're targeting vulnerable groups.
About 2 million people estimated to have died in Kenya from 2003 to date. However, about 734,000 lives among people living with HIV have been saved due to the ART program. Not only do antiretroviral drugs add life to the days of people living with HIV, the reverse is true for Millicent and Patrick. They have added days to their lives, and that is why they cannot afford to fail in their lines of treatment.
even those who are failing on second lines, I'm telling them that they should not miss any pill at any time because there is no any drugs apart from this third line.
Dorcas Wangira, Citizen TV, Homa Bay County.